This episode of the Brewdat podcast is brought to you by Zilka & Co., your trusted regional brewing supply partner. Family owned for over 100 years of business, Zilka delivers world-class products at competitive prices with flat $5 delivery fee. No pallet or liftgate charges thanks to their own fleet of regularly maintained trucks. With locations in Allentown and Hunker and a technical brewer on staff, they provide the expertise and service your brewery deserves. Reach out to Brad Adelson in the show notes and let him know Brewdat sent you.
Welcome back to the Brewdat podcast. I'm your host, Richie Tevlin. Today we have on another very special guest, Governor of Pennsylvania, Mr. Josh Shapiro, to talk about the new tariffs and how they're going to affect Pennsylvania breweries and small local businesses. So thank you for joining us.
Good to be with you, Richie. Thanks for having me, man.
Yeah, really exciting. Like I said, we saw you at Fegley's Brew Works last week.
Yeah.
I know you're a proponent of Pennsylvania brewing, Pennsylvania manufacturing. Yeah. So, with all these changes, it's great to see that you're, talking to us, hearing our issues, and, making sure that we're a priority. So we appreciate that.
Yeah, look, without question, I mean, let me just say, obviously, this world, Richie. You're one of the leaders in it. I'm not sure most Pennsylvanians know just how important craft breweries are for our Commonwealth's economy. We've got 500 craft breweries, and it generates about $5.4 billion in economic impact for the Commonwealth and employs about 30,000 of our fellow Pennsylvanians. So it's not just that it's great beer, right? This is big business. We are second in the nation when it comes to craft breweries, and I'm competitive.
Number one in per capita.
Yep, number one in per capita. I'd like us to be number one on every category by every measurement. So we've invested a whole lot of state money in marketing and research for guys like you, our companies that are doing this work. And so we're going to keep investing and keep, pushing as hard as we can on this front. We think this is really important.
Definitely appreciate it. So with these changes, I guess, how are these tariffs? Unless you're living under a rock, the tariffs are coming. They're affecting everybody, but brewers specifically, how are the tariffs going to affect Pennsylvania craft brewers specifically?
Yeah, I know with the trade war that Donald Trump started, literally one man pushed a button and started this war, created total chaos, created massive fluctuations in the market. And there's all these different economic terms and indicators that are getting thrown around. And I get that can be very, very confusing. So as you point out, I went to Fegley's in the Lehigh Valley the other day, great craft brewery in Pennsylvania. I think they've been around over 2 decades. Just to try and break this down in super simple terms, how the president's trade war is going to screw people over. So you walk into a brewery, you buy a can of beer, right? 75% of all craft brews come in an aluminum can. That aluminum, most of the time, comes from Canada. And so as a result of the tariff war with Canada, who's our number one export partner, so they're our number one trading partner in Pennsylvania, right? International trading partner. You've now increased the price of that can. So depending upon the volume, and this, that can might cost you, if you're doing a lot of volume, 15, 18 cents. For some of the smaller guys, it might be 22, 23 cents just in terms of volume. So the price of that can has now gone up 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 cents, right? Which doesn't sound like a whole lot of money that way, but when you talk about lots of cans, it's a problem. The malted barley that you're sourcing, a lot of folks are sourcing that malted barley from Canada. Those who are sourcing it domestically are also having problems because the domestic markets are all roiled right now, and so prices are going up domestically as well. So the biggest ingredient, that malted barley, that's gone up in price as well. And then just the cost to operate the bar, the restaurant that it's in, that's gone up as well. Then you factor into that the employees that you employ at these places, right? They got to be able to make a few extra bucks to be able to provide what they need for themselves, their families, etc. So your wages have likely gone up as well, all because the president created this churn in our economy, I think, in a really stupid way. And that is the impact, negative impact it's having on small businesses, particularly our small brewers that are such an important part of our economy across Pennsylvania. So sorry to kind of like wonk out or nerd out on you here, Richie, but like, it's just important to note that this isn't just something you look at for like, and it's Wall Street's problem, right? Forget Wall Street. This is something that's affecting our small businesses on main streets all across Pennsylvania.
Definitely. Craft breweries consume a lot of raw materials. A lot of those are coming in internationally. And there's tons of parts, different sections of the supply chain that are going to be affected by this. It's not just the obvious aluminum, malt, but then further down, a couple months from now, like we might see some other things similar to how, COVID, that happened like 2 years, further down the line. It feels kind of the same way.
Yeah. And I'll add one more thing. Richie, you run great business right along the Parkway, and, you do great work there. You probably, and I don't want to personalize this on you, but any small business owner probably thinks about, okay, I made a buck. Do I reinvest that buck in my business? Do I expand? Do I hire more people? Do I produce more beer, whatever? Or do I put that buck in my pocket and save it? And what we're seeing more and more of now in our business community is because of the chaos Trump created, they're taking that buck that they made and they're putting it in their pocket and they're keeping it there because they're worried about the future. And so when you're worried about the future, you don't invest. You keep that money back. When you're worried about interest rates going up, when you're worried about costs going up, you want to keep that money. When you keep that money on the sidelines and you're not reinvesting it, that's a real problem as well.
Exactly. And that kind of goes into our second question. Like, a lot of the access to capital for these small businesses, a lot of the larger breweries, a lot of the macro breweries, large regional breweries, they have the ability to then lock in long-term deals or, preemptively buy certain things. But small businesses, like how can Pennsylvania kind of support small businesses where like we don't have that direct access? Like maybe we're forced to then save that dollar and because we don't, like you said, the uncertainty, we don't know what the next steps are going to be.
Yeah. So we've been investing in our small businesses. I mentioned before, we invested specifically in craft brewers to help them both with the science of making the beer as well as the marketing to get folks to show up. We have invested $20 million this year alone in our main streets, where if you look at the vast majority of those 500 craft brewers, they're along our main streets in different parts of Pennsylvania. Obviously, a main street in Philly, where you are, looks a whole lot different than a main street in Lancaster, where I was just a few hours ago. But that's where a lot of these, small businesses are. They're along our main streets. We put 20 million bucks into that. We've put a lot of money into marketing from a tourism perspective to bring someone to Philly. And while they're in Philly, of course, check out the art museum, go to a Phil's game or Birds game or whatever, but then make sure that their nightly plans or their plans at night involve going to one of our small breweries as opposed to maybe one of the kind of big box places, no offense to them. And so we're promoting that as much as we can. We have seen, prior to Trump taking office and starting this trade war, we were seeing business grow in that space. In addition to that, I've tried to help business owners keep more money in their pockets by cutting business taxes, reducing what's known as the corporate net income tax, allowing small businesses to write off more of their expenses for employees' childcare, as just one example. So we're trying to put more money back in small business pockets. Unfortunately, the federal government seems to be working overtime, and the Trump administration is screw over our small businesses.
Yeah, the breweries are really anchor businesses in a lot of these small towns, so it's really definitely important to kind of keep them healthy and alive.
Yeah, Richie, you're right, man. You go to any main street, right? Again, you go out one of these rural communities, one of these smaller communities. Main streets are kind of one-story buildings. Here in Philly, they're multi-story, but they all kind of got the same vibe, right? They're going to be successful when they've got that great coffee shop, a great brewery, a few of the cool small businesses where people want to go buy stuff, right? And maybe a great bakery, right? There's kind of a formula to this, and you guys are smack dab in the middle of that formula for success. And that's why we're working so hard to invest in you and protect you.
You have the nucleus. So as most consumer goods, like industries, like brewing is, like we rely really heavily on marketing goods, like tap handles, T-shirts, merchandise. most of that, a lot of businesses, really like 95% of that is coming from internationally. Like what are ways that like a small business owner like me can kind of like navigate, getting through something like this where like it really upends a lot of, the supply chain of where I'm normally getting my stuff, like really almost doubling the price overnight.
It's very, very tough. And look, Richie, I don't want to bullshit you. I don't have a great answer for you. If you're if you're sourcing materials overseas that you need, whether it's for t-shirt or whatever, something in your business, we are certainly working with small businesses to help them source it locally here in Pennsylvania, ideally, or here domestically. But for some, I've talked to a lot of small business owners, including a baby store I was in earlier today in Lancaster. For some, the products that the consumers want just simply aren't available here. And so they're forced to look overseas, whether it's for the product or for that, the kind of raw material that they need to make that product. It's hard, and it didn't need to be this way. By Trump creating this fight with our friends and allies and the people who source you material every day, all he's done is made it harder for small businesses and make things cost a whole lot more.
Yeah, a lot of it's overnight, the changes. We're kind of, how do we fix this? A lot of different changes in our business overnight.
I mean, the good news is, clearly the president is hearing from the farmers that he's screwing over, the small businesses that he's screwing over, because what he's doing is he's now backtracking off the original plan.
I saw that. I just saw that.
Yeah. Now, look, here's the problem. There's still chaos and uncertainty because I think you put like a 90-day pause on some, added tariffs on others. By creating all this confusion, it just makes it harder for small business owners. Think about it this way. When you're a small business owner, man, you're like, and you know this better than anybody, you're dealing with challenges every single day. It's like driving your car on a dark, windy road and it gets real foggy. And when it gets foggy, what do you do on that dark, windy road? You pull over and you sit tight and you keep, you keep yourself safe. It's what I think a lot of small businesses are feeling right now. They're pulling over, they're keeping their capital in their pockets. They're trying to be safe in the midst of all this chaos. And the chaos is being created by one guy and one guy alone, and that's Trump.
Yep. So kind of push forward, see what we're doing. And then looking ahead, I mean, there's a lot of negative here, but looking ahead, how can Pennsylvania support us? Like, how can Pennsylvania move forward and kind of make this, build our businesses? Like, what can Pennsylvania do for us?
Richie, we're going to keep doing what I've already been doing, what I've got a proven track record doing for my last 2 years as your governor. Cut small business taxes, invest in marketing our small businesses, investing in our main streets, helping source for, businesses like yours, materials directly from farms in Pennsylvania. We've got a really strong track record of doing that. And so continuing that cycle, in some cases, training up the employees that you need with specialized skills to be able to work the machinery in your breweries or other small businesses, doing more on the workforce development side. And to be clear, Richie, this isn't like something I'm hoping to do. This is something I've done as governor. These are things we've delivered on. And things have been working really, really well until these tariffs came along and created the havoc that we're seeing right now.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, Pennsylvania has been known to be a great manufacturing state. And it still is. We're going to get through this. Just got to kind of figure out how to navigate it. But
exactly.
Again, I appreciate your support. I appreciate you coming on today. I know that you have been, front and center, like supporting Pennsylvania craft breweries. So from the industry side, we appreciate it.
Thank you. Absolutely, man. We got your back. You guys are a really, really, really important part of our economy. And I wish you success in your business, and let me know how I can help.
Definitely. We'll do.
You got it. See ya.
Yep. See ya.